Today's program is completely unabridged for this Easter, and it's about an hour and 30 minutes long. It includes the Easter message from Dr. Christian Sorensen, and it was recorded April 21st, 2019, and it's titled Beyond Appearances, Affirming I See as Spirit Sees. And given it's Easter today, we have a full band with a horn section, along with our musical guest artists, Karl Anthony, the Seaside Choir, and our Artistic Director, Rebecca Jade. And, of course, you can come visit us at our website on seasidecenter.org. And you can join us in Encinitas, California on a Sunday sometime, where you're going to hear what you hear today, less the full horn section, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you.
Celebration. It is a day in which the Spirit is rising above us, taking us to new heights. And so I invite you to journey with me in consciousness this morning, for right here, right now, there is the emergence of something greater that is going on. I know for each and every one of us that there is the availability for that divine to download its realization, that we become that place where the Christ rises above the appearances of lack and limitation and concern. For today is about each and every one of us. It is our story being crystallized and clarified and realized that it is a place where God is known. Excited to have that wonderful rising. We go forth into this service, receptive to the gifts that are making themselves known. So it is.
Everybody keep standing up. Happy Easter. Oh, I don't need that, Rebecca.
You don't need that. You don't need that.
All right. What about that band, huh? Let's catch the spirit today, all right? You ready to have a good day? So, oh, yeah. All right, there's the words for you. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit. Come on, man. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. You ready to have a beautiful day? Say Happy Easter. Catch the Spirit and sing so everyone hears it now. Can you feel it? Feel the love. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Go ahead. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Again. At Seaside we ride on the wave. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. Guitar man. Catch the Spirit and sing so everyone hears it now. Can we feel it? Feel the love. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Together. At Seaside we ride on the wave. At Seaside we ride on the wave. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit dwelling in me. God is the wind, we are the sea. I ride on the Spirit. How about you sing it by yourself? Come on. Lift your voice. Let's all join hands together. Sing. Catch the Spirit. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Catch the Spirit. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Catch the Spirit. At Seaside we ride on the wave. Catch the Spirit. At Seaside we ride on the wave.
Thank you so much, beloved Karl. Let's acknowledge Karl again, please. Karl Anthony. And thank you, beautiful choir. Let's acknowledge our choir. Wonderful. I'm Reverend Kathy Hearn. I have a great honor of being a staff minister here at Seaside. I'm the Dean of the School of Spiritual Leadership, which is our ministerial training program. And if you've ever had a thought that you might like a life in spiritual service, like you're watching all of us do today, see how much fun we're having? Please feel free to come talk to me about it. I'd love to share with you. So a welcome to all of you, and a very special welcome to any of you who are here for the very first time today. You are wanted here. We're glad you chose this place to come on this day of celebration. Seaside is an open, loving, joyous community, and here you find lots of people to be your companions on the spiritual path as you engage in the experience of spiritual growth and awakening. So we invite you to come back again. So we're going to begin our service today by doing a call and response reading, and you see the words up on the screen. I'm the leader, you're the congregation. And so we'll alternate in that way. Easy, right? And at the very end, we say the last piece together. So first of all, I just invite you to close your eyes for just a moment. Breathe into your heart. Just have a nice deep exhale. We're about to say some very beautiful and spiritual ideas. So once again, deep breath into the heart. And a nice exhale. Getting deeper every time. And once more, deep breath. Full exhale. Nice. And here we go. And Dr. Christian wrote these words, by the way. Life is perfect, complete, and whole, yesterday, today, and for eternity.
I am the way, the truth, and the life that is eternal.
I am not bound by the past. I am new in every moment, living the divine as me now.
The old has passed away, and behold, I make all things new.
Life is not stuck, static, or stale.
The perfection of God cannot be altered. This perfection is constantly expressing as me.
All destructive thoughts of despair, discouragement, insufficiency can find no refuge in my consciousness.
The light of God radiates from me. Wisdom speaks through me. Truth supports me as I confidently rise into my greater experience of life.
Conditions have no power over me. Anything that I might have feared is powerless over me. I roll away the stone from my tomb of smallness.
Having no regret for the past or fear for the future, I die to the old and to self, and am born into the fullness of Spirit.
This is a new day. There is no place where God is not.
My soul is restored, replenished, and renewed, knowing God as I am.
I do not need to die to become immortal. I am immortal now.
I trust the currents of eternity to carry me on my earth path as I surrender my limited concepts of myself.
Today I celebrate the wonder of this divine life living as me.
My life is triumphant, splendid, glorious, and free.
And all together, Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. Wonderful. And let's welcome Reverend Dr. Christina Tillotson.
Thank you, Dr. Kathy. As Kathy, I'm also a staff minister here at Seaside, and I'm also the dean of the online part of our ministerial education called the Holmes Institute. So if you're interested in spiritual leadership, talk to Dr. Kathy, and then you might be seeing me too. So the reading I've chosen is from the Buddhist monk Adyashanti. And I love the way he distills some of the things that we teach in our philosophy and faith and way of life about the story of Jesus. And I love it that we teach it a little differently than I grew up with. And Adyashanti, I think, pretty much distills this for me right now today. The Jesus story is a metaphor that reads like a roadmap for spiritual awakening. The journey of awakening to divine being that you and I can realize eternally. Jesus' life does not end with the crucifixion. It culminates in the metaphor of the resurrection as Jesus comes back to the world of time and space. In our journey of awakening, when our false beliefs and fears and ideas of our ego self have been annihilated and dropped away, we experience a kind of resurrection. We realize a new orientation. The small self-oriented life is over. Individually, what comes back to life out of the ashes of that dropping away is something that's really quite simple, but quite poignant. From that place, the only thing left to do is to be a benevolent presence in the world. This may happen on a big stage like with Jesus or the great enlightened ones, or it may just mean being a benevolent grandmother or mother or daughter or son or business owner. In fact, the resurrected state can actually look quite normal. Of course, when we look at the life of Jesus, we get the impression that the spiritually awakened state always looks impressive and charismatic. But that's just good storytelling. The resurrection within oneself is something far quieter. In that rising, there's a simple, profound intimacy with all things and with all beings, and with that which transcends all things and all beings. Life is experienced in all of its original completeness and unity. That intimacy is the resurrected state. As Jesus said, I am in the world, but not of it. This is the best possible description of the resurrection, to have an intimacy with the world of time and space and things and people and events, but be not of the world. You are of the world of eternality. And now I turn it over to our amazing choir.
Higher and higher.
Thank you, choir. We love you so. So there's a story, a version of the Easter story that I like very much that came out of a book that was originally called The Religions of Man. Now I believe it's called World Religions by Houston Smith. And in this book, Houston Smith says that 2019 or so years ago, there was a message that flashed across the Mediterranean world, not like it would flash today on our devices, but carried from one excited person to another. And the message concerned a 33-year-old itinerant preacher who had been causing a stir. The story, however, the message was not about how he taught the people in their own language with the images and the activities of their daily life, the metaphors of their daily life, even though he did that. The story was not about the miracles of healing that he did, which were substantial. And it was not even about how he had gotten in great trouble with the authorities and had ultimately been put to death. The words that were the message were only 3 in number, and they came after 2 of his followers went to the tomb on the Sunday morning and found the stone had been rolled away, and an angelic figure was there present saying, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here, he is risen." And that was the message that spread across the Mediterranean world. We in our philosophy and our practice here like to take deep spiritual learnings and teachings personally and to find them with reverence and reference in our own individual life so that we might live the greatest spiritual ideas very uniquely and individually and on a daily basis. And so I invite you to go within with me. And just once again, feeling yourself centered in the quiet of your own being. Just taking a moment to connect with your breath and feeling it move in and out of your body. Allowing your inhale and your exhale to be one continuous cycle so that you feel the wheel of the breath. And know that it is the wheel of life, literally, and the eternal activity of spirit within. And on your next inhale, I just invite you to breathe right into your heart center. And to know with me this truth that there is only one power, one presence, one life that is God, that is so very good. And this good life of God is my life and the life of each one of us here. It is the life of all those whom we love and even all those whom we have trouble with, as it is the life of all beings everywhere. And truly all that is, all that exists in this moment is living this one life right here and now. And so it is in this awareness that I speak my word on behalf of all of us, excepting for myself and anyone else who chooses, that today is a day of a special message for each one of us. I invite us to turn to the core center of our being and to find their life and only life. Life itself that is ageless and deathless and immortal. And also dwelling at the center of our being, there is a profound wholeness, a dimension of us that has never been hurt, harmed, or touched by anything. And it is as we turn to this truth of the life and the wholeness within that we were able to have a new day, as we have a new thought, a new realization of who we are, as we know that God in us, Spirit in us, life in us, wholeness in us is greater than anything that we might be going through in this moment. And also at the very center of our being, therefore, is a power of overcoming anything that looks like an obstacle or a difficulty. And the way is shown to us to know the truth, and the truth will set us free. And so I give thanks for this service today, for every word that is spoken, prayer prayed, note of music heard and sung. I know that we're here perfectly by divine appointment for just this experience. Our entire lives have unfolded to this place right here now. I know all is blessed each and every moment that Dr. Christian is uplifted in the giving of his message. And I do accept for each one of us today that we hear something that makes all the difference as our life moves on forward. And so I simply give thanks for this. I know that Spirit is the power that does the work, moving through all of us. And as the beloved Emma Curtis Hopkins says, there is good for us and we ought to have it. In fact, say this with me. There's good for me and I ought to have it. There's good for me and I ought to have it. And once more, with great gusto, there is good for me and I ought to have it. And so I know this truth here and now, the good here and now. And with loving thanks, I release this word, and together we say, and so it is. Thank you. You like that? All right. Excellent. Let's welcome back beloved Karl Anthony.
Not bad, Dr. Kathy. I did applause after a meditation. Yes. Hi, everybody. It is so good to be back in North County. My beloved Noi and I, we spend our winters in Thailand, but we're here now. So, and let's start this. Is your year going good? Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So, I'm thinking that He is risen. I'm thinking when that word got out, I'm thinking that everybody thought right away that, boy, if that's true, I can do anything. So what we're going to do is a song called I Can Do Anything. Thumbs up. I can do anything. Good. Try it again. I can do anything. Very good. Before I bring the band in, we should go over that, don't you think? All right. Hold on, guys. I'll let you know when. You guys want to stand? You can do that. You want to stand? Come on. Let's try. It'll be fun. It's all right. Let's try. Before the band comes in, you're going to go, I can do anything. Now, you got to go down on the anything. Yeah. I'll try. 1, 2, 3, begin. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. Now to the side, clap. Other side, clap. Other side, clap. Other side. You guys ready over there? 1, 2, 3, go. Here we go. Try this. If someone tells you it's a waste of time, don't even try it. Don't be fooled, my friend. Believe in you, you can do it. You want the truth, you can do anything. Together I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. To the side, clap. Other side. You should see you. You look beautiful. Look at somebody and say, you look good. How will you ever know if you'll succeed unless you try it? You'll never know for yourself until you buy it. You want the truth, you can do anything. Together I can do anything. I can do anything. I can do anything. Said I can do. Come on, any vibe. you want to do something? Do what you always wanted. Do you want to be something? Be who you always wanted. Do you want to love something? Take every chance that's given. Do you want to say something? Say it, I can do anything. I can do anything. Said I can do anything. Said I can do anything. Hey, we should do we instead of I, don't you think? All right, you got to come up with a different motion though. That's right. Are you ready? Here we go. Say we can do anything. We can do anything. We can do anything. Said we can do anything. Mr. Dr. Reverend Christian Sorensen.
Hey.
Give it up.
And that is Karl Anthony, brother of mine. My goodness, we've been doing this, 25 years together, Easter, huh? And we can do anything. What do you think about that? Woo! Perfect song for today's message, which is about going beyond appearances. And it's been a crazy week, right? It's been the Holy Week. Started last week with Palm Sunday. We talked about that, and churches across, the planet, really, that are doing the Christian thing. One of the stories coming out of the churches was about this little girl, about 5, who didn't make it to church last Sunday on Palm Sunday. She had a sore throat. She had a babysitter stay home. Her parents went, and when her parents came back from church, they brought home the palm fronds. And she said, "What are those? What are those for?" And they said, "They're palm fronds. They held them over Jesus." And in a disgusted kind of way, she said, "I knew it. The one Sunday I don't go to church, Jesus shows up." So, maybe her week didn't start off so good. But I got to tell you, if you stop to think about Jesus' week, he probably didn't have the best week either. You think you've had a bad week? Think about this, comes in, people are celebrating the guy. It's Passover, which really is symbolic of, moving from the slavery, moving from, being trapped or entombed to a higher state of expression, a higher being. The Spirit passes over. And so Passover is like a bridge from one place to another. And Jesus sent his guys to go to the upper room to create a place for the Passover dinner. He sent Peter, who represents faith, and he sent John, who represents love, and he sends them to the upper room to prepare a dinner where there can be the intimacy, the conversation, the depth, the heart that is expressed. So they're having dinner. Things are going pretty good. A little fight between a guy by the name of Judas and Jesus kind of takes off. And I'm thinking, Jesus got an idea of where this is going, right? And he goes into the garden, the Garden of Gethsemane. And I just recently read that Gethsemane actually means, if you were to interpret it, like an oil press, like it squeezes out the good stuff from you, right? Which doesn't feel very comfortable. Well, maybe Gethsemane represents the agony, the pain, the betrayal, because here's Jesus, and he's looking for his boys to hang out with him, right? Come on, guys, stay up. This isn't like going to head in the right direction. But, they're too drunk, and they've been eating, they can't stay awake with Jesus. And sure enough, the guards come. And the guards, grab this guy. Judas betrays him, so that's not a very good thing. They take him to Pilate, which is not a good scenario, when you go into the governor of it all. And then they take him to Herod. They whip him a bunch of times. They take him back to Pilate. They get all the people, in the town against him, and they go and crucify him. Now, that's a bad week, and so when I hear people say, "Chris, I'm having a rough week," it's like, have you ever thought about this guy's week? It probably didn't go in the best direction, but he didn't get stuck with saying this is a bad week. He went beyond the appearance, knowing that there was something more that was to come out of this, that the crucifixion wasn't the end, and that it wasn't a bad thing, that things had to unfold in order to rise above to a higher place that people had not traveled before. And so as I have, worked and talked to many of you, I've been there in your times where you've just had heartbreaking experiences. I've heard enough heartbreaking stories to realize that most of us have a story to tell that could break our heart wide open. But note to self, no matter how often you wanted to quit and give up, you haven't. If you can remember that, then you too, as Kathy Hearn was saying, the message went out around the Mediterranean. He has risen. You have risen. You have risen above that particular place. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, he said, don't let your life be guided from your past experiences. He said, don't let your life actually be limited by your past experiences. Got that? Don't let your life be limited by the past experiences. Just because it hasn't worked out heretofore doesn't mean it's not going to work out. You know, the sacred circles that we have been doing, the home study groups have taken this message to a deeper level. Powerful one this week. Susan Sullivan, who writes for the Coast News on spirituality, has a bi-monthly column there. This week, Rosicrucian, Susan, fabulous job with that. She wrote Beyond Appearances for us in the sacred circles, and she uses the teaching tool for all of us, the wonderful analogy of no mud, no lotus. Without the mud, you don't get the flower. You got that? And then she asks us, so which one of those heartbreaking moments in your life that you had, to think about that and to allow yourself to realize the good that came out of that, the blessing that came out of it, how you rose beyond the appearance, how you rolled the stone away from the entrapment of thinking this is a bad thing to recognizing from a little higher perspective that this is going to be okay. You know, I was able to rise above that. And then you come to know mud. No, K-N-O-W. No mud, K-N-O-W, no lotus. You know, you come to know it a little bit richer, a little bit fuller, a little bit more wonderful. But you got to be available. And this whole story is about being available to that presence of God. Because Spirit is always available, right? It is omnipresent, it is everywhere. Say, here I am. You can have it all right now. The days of the Pharaoh, they could have had what we've got going on. They could have had lights, no problem. They could have had indoor plumbing. It was available. You don't think all of a sudden it came around in the 21st century, do you? They could have had, Netflix. I mean, it's all available, but it wasn't until it was realized that it became available. And so when we are entombed, we're in the dark night, we're being crucified, if you would. It is in that moment you can choose something different and realize the presence of God. It took Moses to step forward and say, hey guys, you know what? You've been enslaved here to the Israelites. You've been enslaved for 100 generations, for 400 years. But it took the guy by the name of Moses, who probably didn't have the best speaking ability and the abilities to free the people, but he caught the God realization, and he became the place where that presence was known. It was true for the prophets of Elijah and Elijah, and John and Jesus and Paul. They became places where the realization, that higher presence of God became available, and things shifted and things changed. That is what the Christ consciousness is. This is what a Mother Teresa did. It is what a Gandhi has done. It is what Harriet Tubman had done. It is what His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They become the place where there's a realization of something that is beyond being trapped, enslaved, or stuck. And that's what is available for us. That is our story that will allow us to rise above the appearances. Is that I'm going to become the place where I realize the presence of God. I'm going to give up. Ernest Holmes says, don't let your life be limited by past experiences. I'm going to be the place where I begin to realize the presence of God. The story goes back to the very beginning of the Bible. Remember that first story about a guy by the name of Adam? It's at the beginning of that black book. That dusty one on your shelf. It says that Jesus came into the Garden of Eden and Adam was hiding. And God, this omnipresent, all-knowing, all-wise, knows everything, said, Adam, where are you? Really? A guy who knows everything can't find Adam in the garden. It says, Adam, where are you? And so Adam comes out, he says, I'm naked. God said, and who told you you were naked? Who told you that's not okay? And all of a sudden, we have a division from the very first story of our oneness in the Garden of Eden, where there's God expressing in through all things. But all of a sudden, we have stepped into the human experience. We have identified with our body, and for some reason, we're saying it's not good. We're thinking, you know what? Yeah, this isn't quite right. And we become stuck in the human law. And the law of the physical realm. We are a spiritual expression who got one of these bodies to move around this plane. But that's not who you are. But we forgot that we're under the divine law, the divine direction, that there's responsiveness that is greater than the things of this world. But all of a sudden, I'm thinking, you know what? This seems real to me. You know, Wayne Dyer, one of the things he said or wrote is that it is judgment that prevents us from seeing our greater good beyond appearance. Wow. Man, the 3-month-old goes, wow, somebody got it. I love that. Yeah, that is beautiful. Wow. You know, it is our judgment that keeps us from seeing the good that's beyond the appearance. That's it. And where does that judgment come? Well, you know, it comes from the past experiences. But when you let go of the past lets go of you. Now, that's another wow. When you let go of the past lets go of you. And what is it that you're holding on to is, you know, you get your judgment like Adam from the human, you know, from what I see. I'm not seeing as God sees. I'm seeing as the human sees. I'm hearing that which is of this world. I'm hearing the headlines. I'm smelling. I'm feeling. I'm thinking of the human realm. And what happens is I am caught up in this place, forgetting the truth of my being is excellent, is divine. I'm part of that divine place where the realization of the presence, that's what a mystical experience is. It is knowing that you are one with Spirit. It is what we call the Christ consciousness. The man, Jesus, exemplified a level of understanding that we call the Christ consciousness, or what Buddhists may call the Buddhist consciousness, or Hindus the Krishna consciousness. You know, the Taoists call the flow of life. You're part of that stream. You know, it's not relegated to one religion. It is a spiritual truth that transcends cultures and religions. This is a story, if you read my article to you, this story of the resurrection of the spring fertility celebrations came from the beginning of recorded histories. The Sumerians, I've got one in there, Nana. You know, it's a story that, as Dr. Kathy was saying, is our story when we're willing to be with it and understand it and open ourselves. I want us to get that our spiritual practices is what makes life easy. Wouldn't you like to have life a little bit easier? You know, it's giving up those past experiences that you think have dominated things. Our spiritual practices, you look at the guy, Jesus, he said, I'm not going to be worried about tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about what I'm going to eat, I'm going to drink, what I'm going to wear. You know, God's going to take care of my food and my clothes. Takes care of the birds. They don't sow. They don't gather and store it in barns. And am I not adorned like one of those guys? You know, it's a lot easier to go with that approach. But then we get caught in the atomistic consciousness that says, I'm in this world, I'm naked, there's something wrong with me. And then we begin to put our focus there. And we're under the human law once again, not the divine expression of our innate innocence, of our self-divine expression. But we're believing, you know what, this challenge, yeah, it's significant. But I want us to understand that our challenges are divine calling cards. The challenges are what has us pause and to turn to something that is greater than what it is we know, that allows us to move beyond appearances. Our challenges is what allows us to let go of our octopus grip that won't let go of what's going on. It is that which allows us to surrender our position and think, well, this is the end of the world. This is horrible. It allows us to have a gap in what it is we think and turning it over to something else, that there's something new. See, if you want to move beyond appearances, if you want to roll the stone away from your entombment or your entrapment or your enslavement to your thoughts or to the people or wherever you're giving your power away to, there's got to be a space. And when there's a challenge, a divine calling card, it interrupts believing that past is what is continuing in our life and in our world. It allows us to see that there's something more here. Remember I was talking last week about driving through the desert and the bushes out there. I've only seen dead bushes for most of my life out in the desert. They're dry, they're dead, they're gray. And I said, but last week when I drove through, it was green. The desert got green. There was a green carpet as far as the eye could see, then going up into the hills. It was truly amazing. And I thought about, well, the water and nutrients pulled up through the roots. Wow, ta-da. But then I had the deeper realization that the life force that was in those plants were always there. There was nothing wrong with those plants when they were dark and they're gray, but so often what we want to do is bring our prayers and heal a situation. We want to make that green. We want life to bloom. But what the mystic does, or what the Christ consciousness does, is it looks at the situation and doesn't see something wrong. It sees the life force that is there. It sees the Spirit of God that is there. It sees the truth that is there. It's not caught up in the illusion that there's something wrong and it needs my prayer to heal this situation, but it sees the truth that is there. And so you take that out a little bit further beyond plants in the desert. How about people in your life who just bug the heck out of you? Yeah. And now if I could do my prayers so they could be healed, I'm going to do my prayers so they can see how spiritual I am and have been so kind and patient. Yeah. No. What the Christ consciousness does to rise above appearances, it doesn't even look at that situation and think it needs a prayer. It sees that higher expression of that individual. It is the faith and the love that has gone to that higher place in consciousness, has gone to that higher room in the divine, gone to prepare a place for that spirit to express itself in a greater way. It's what Jesus did when he's being crucified between two thieves. You know, here it is. On one side, he had a thief, and they said, well, this is the thief that represented the past. You can't allow the past to rob what is possible for you. Now, the other side was another thief who represented the future. You can't be filled with the anxiety, the worry, the fear. This could happen because that too is going to rob you. But what he said, supposedly, is that today you shall be with me in paradise. Today, here he is standing in the middle right now in this moment. If you want to experience the garden, if you want to experience the paradise, it's today. You want to get outside of the tomb, you got to give a pass to the futurizing your life and say, okay, today, right here, there's nothing wrong. Challenge may have brought me to my knees, had me pause, but you know what? I'm going to move beyond this appearance. You know, this guy Jesus, can rise from the dead. I can deal with what's in my life. I think I have a bad week. This guy is not too good. If I can just remind myself that life that was in that man who exemplified a state of consciousness is the same life that is available to me, and I just need to realize it, and I join the Moseses and the Elijahs and the Jesuses and the Mother Teresas. It's available, but I'm the one who has to realize it so I can rise. I can have the resurrection from the challenges in which I have lived. There was a minister talking on Easter, and the kids, were getting ready to go to their junior church, and he said to the children, today's Easter, and Easter is about the resurrection. He said, you guys know, any of you know what the resurrection is all about? And this kind of one little guy, he raised his hand and said, well, I know what resurrection is. He said, good, tell me. He said, well, I don't really know what resurrection is, but I do know that if I have one and it lasts more than 4 hours, I need to go to the doctor. Oh. God, here I am. It's about being available for what's coming through, and sometimes you stumble in life. Sometimes you stretch it a little bit too far. But when you stumble, Joseph Campbell said, when you stumble and you fall, there is where you discover gold. And when you stumble and you fall, there is where you discover the gold. The medieval monks used to be asked, how do you do your practices? They say we stumble and we get back up. They stumble to the earth, they're part of the humus of life itself, and they get back up. And they begin to practice once again. See, what I've come to recognize is we cannot prevent ourselves from stumbling and getting back up again. It's no different than forgetting and remembering. And when we stumble, it is about, I can get up. And the stumble is not a failure. It's an expanded experience. It's a greater realization. It's a humility that is part of our soul expression. And when we get up, it is not about being victorious, and it's not about conquering a person or a situation or the guards that entombed me or those who did me wrong. It is about rising triumphant to a higher view in life and recognize that, you know what? I've got to let go of my small-mindedness so I can move into the upper room. If I'm going up those stairs, I got to leave the luggage down there. I can remember I was painting my house or windows anyway, and I was carrying a gallon of paint in one hand, and I was carrying the roller and the pan in the other hand, and I was carrying the paintbrush in my teeth, and I was carrying the tarp under my arm. And when I got to the back gate, it was locked. And so I tried to use my nose, my forehead to undo the latch. I kind of pushed and pulled back with my foot. And as I did, back I went. Paint all over. I never shared this with you, Callie. Tried to get it cleaned up before you knew that gray paint. But it's like that's what we do in our life. Our ego that has that octopus grip, that is defending, this is why I am enslaved or I'm entombed. It's been generations going on. You know what? We've got to take the paint and put it down on the ground and open that crazy gate and walk on through to the other side. And if I need some of that, then I can go back and get it. But what we're trying to do is hold on to the old. Do not limit your life by past experiences, is what Ernest Holmes told us, right? Do not limit what is possible. If you want to go beyond where you've been, if you want to go beyond appearance, if you want to rise triumphant from the darkness of the tomb of death, you've got to be willing to let go of what got you there. There's one of these fair vendors, shares a story about how he was a carver, a wood carver. He carved these beautiful pieces of wood. The only challenge is nobody wanted to buy them. And he carved, he tried, set up fairs. Nobody would buy it. Finally, one day, in a fit of upset or rage or whatever comes from that kind of disappointment, he took them and he burned them, all his wood carvings. And they went, whoa. What I do? And so he took all the ashes and he mixed it with a lot of glue. And then he had a big old lump of glued up ashes. And so he went ahead and carved it. And so he tried to sell that carving of glued ashes. And it sold like that instantly. So, no dummy, he thought I'd do another one. And he did another one. It sold instantly. He says now he can't keep them on his shelf because they are so unique and different than anybody else's that they continue to sell out. You've got to leave your old stuff at the gate if you want to step through the door and go to the other side beyond where you were. And when the challenges bring you to your knees and somebody's not buying your stuff, it's a message for you to go a little bit deeper, actually a little bit higher in consciousness to that secret room with some faith and with some love and saying, okay, God, this is your divine calling card. Then what is it that I need to get from this? You know the story of Ted Shawn. He was born turn of the 20th century, 1891 actually, and he developed polio, or some said diphtheria. Either way, the legs didn't work. He was a theology student, and he had to drop out of school. But he was in school long enough to know that you're supposed to listen. What's this all about, God? And what he heard God say, or life say, call it what you want, an intuitive hit, it said, dance. So Ted began to move his legs, and all of a sudden his body began to work, and he started to dance, and he started to have his body go. Married and together with his wife, they started a wonderful dance troupe, and they began to do this unique kind of dancing, and he, to this day, is considered one of the fathers of modern dance. You see, it's like that calling card. I'm going to hang you out to dry. Okay. It's like, what's going on here? We all know the story of Saul of Tarsus, the hunter of those that followed Jesus. On his way to Damascus, is hit by a bolt of inspiration, falls from the horse onto his knees, and sees now through the eyes of those he's been hunting, and his whole spirit has been changed, and he becomes St. Paul with this great spiritual message that fills half of the New Testament. That's what can happen when we are open and receptive to something greater that wants to show up in our life. But we have got to be willing to let go of the old. You know, one of the things I do in my class, I got a class starting Tuesday night. If you want to be in class with me, I'm doing this class called The Power of Your Word. It's how to get that power, that God power into your prayers. You speak this word and you create what it is you are going for. It is, it's like you too can raise the dead. That would be good marketing. But one of the exercises that I have in this, and I just encourage you to sign up and be part of the class on Tuesday, but it's I'm going to ask you to pause a couple times through the course of your day and just check in to see where your consciousness is hanging out. You just stop in the middle of the day. Where are your consciousness? I'm getting caught up in the headlines. Oh, I can't believe what's coming out on the news right now. This news feed, this buzz feed, it's blowing up my Facebook, MSNBC, whatever it is that's going on. Or, oh, gosh, I'm worried. I don't know how I'm going to pay this bill or what I'm going to do with this relationship. And all of a sudden, if you notice you're thinking like that, it's how am I going to, make this experience happen? It's like you get pulled down. You need to have one of those Moses realizations where you become the place for the divine download of greater good to fill your field of awareness so you can go towards your dream. Henry David Thoreau said that most people are leading a life of, that's it, quiet desperation. Most people are leading a life of quiet desperation. It's amazing how many of us know that one, because for some reason it resonates within our soul. We're not living our life to the full expression, to the greater possibility. But I got to tell you what it was said of Jesus when he got baptized. You may remember this story. It said after he was baptized, there was this big booming voice. I didn't say big booming, but I figure that's what God sounded. No. There was, Spirit spoke that said, this is my kid. Man, this is my child, my beloved child in which I'm well pleased. Now, I want you to get that he hadn't done anything yet. This is my beloved child in which I'm well pleased. He hadn't returned the sight to the blind yet. He hadn't healed the sick, let the lame walk, raise the dead, walk on water. He had done nothing yet. But Spirit said, and this is what it says about you, you're my beloved child, who I'm well pleased. And you don't get that because you have done something. You get that because that is who you are. An expression of the divine, of the Spirit. And with that comes those infinite possibilities if you're willing to go beyond the appearance, if you're willing to go beyond the past, if you're willing to roll away that stone that has entombed you and recognize that you know what? You got what it takes. Lisa Nichols, who's coming here next month or in June, I love what she said. The two greatest days of your life, one was the day you were born, and the second one is when you realize why you were born. And when you choose to do your spiritual practices and realize it's a very practical way to live your life, and the challenges are just divine calling cards, and that you don't need to lock yourself and seal yourself in a tomb because something went wrong and you realize you're naked, what you want to do is go to that greater realization, the Christ consciousness, and realize, you know what, this is a joyous place. Take a look at Jesus, at least I do, particularly over this weekend. But I figure this guy was probably pretty happy. He was he got invited to all the best parties, for sure. You don't invite a deadpan, dull person to the parties, right? I mean, obviously he was a good storyteller. Yeah, I mean, we're still telling his stories today. I'm sure the guy loved to laugh. He had a good laugh. He turned water into wine. Would you not invite that person to your party if he could turn water into wine? What I get from this guy's example is he was about joy. Even at the end, when they were crucifying him, what did he say? Forgive them. He didn't resent it. He didn't hold on to it. He's got, wow, I got this, like Eli, lama, Tommy. It's like Eli, lama, shakabatani. It's like, God, oh my God, I get it. This is what it was about. It says, this was my destiny. This is what I was spared for. It took that Judas kiss in that garden of agony in the Garden of Gethsemane to to get me to this point. So this message is beyond my human experience. Joy, Desjardins says, is the infallible sign of the presence of God. It is that laughter. It is that self-expression. It is that vibrancy that comes forth from us. And with that said, I'm not saying we don't have down times. When you have joy as your soul, you still get to have the hurt, the betrayal, tears. It's right to cry when you've had deep loss and deep hurt, and your dreams have been destroyed, or your relationship has ended, or someone has died, or has been taken. It's right that we allow ourselves to feel and to cry, and the pain and the sadness that I've been locked into this dark place. But when there's joy as the foundation, you realize that joy isn't about pleasure-pain syndrome. It is about a spiritual quality that will assist you through this time to a greater place. I love the story Michael Levine shared. And he wrote this book called Lessons from the Halfway Point. And he shares, it was a hot summer day, over 100 degrees, squelching hot out, and rainforest humidity, probably 100% humidity. It's just one of those oppressive kind of days. And he was out walking down his neighborhood, and he saw his 83-year-old neighbor out kind of hunched over his cane. And Michael said, "How's it going?" And this 83-year-old wise guy said, "Best day yet." After 83 years, and a squelching, hot, humid day, he said, "This is the best yet. This is the best day yet." Now, that is the kind of consciousness that's going to have you rise above appearance of a body that's not working, of life situations that look like I don't need any more calling cards, God. I've got enough going on. It is something that allows you to come to recognize and experience the presence of joy. Gene Houston says that at the height of laughter, the universe is flung into a kaleidoscope of new possibilities. At the height of laughter, the universe is flung into the kaleidoscope of new possibilities. You are not bound by the past. You've got to be open, and you can be brought to your knees and say, "Okay, I can get it through the crucifixion and the pain and all these challenges, or I'm going to laugh my way into those gaps, into those new experiences." You see, the joy and the happiness is a natural expression of spirit. From a class, I can remember this one person, she was working on happiness in her life. And so she was praying for the new car so she could be happy. And then, when she got that, she's praying also for kids to get their life together so, she could be happy. And praying for the work to work out better so she could be happy. She's praying for the abundance to show up so she could be happy. Finally, about halfway through the class, I said, "Why don't you just pray to be happy?" Why don't we just go to the divine quality and let that intelligence that guides the universe guide my life? I'm going to stop hiding behind the bushes and getting stuck in my humanness and thinking I'm naked and it's not okay, and step out and say, "Okay, Spirit, guide me. I am available. I am your son in which you are well pleased," is how the story goes. And so, you know what? Sometimes when we're down, we've got to open up to that higher vibration, that upper room, to have enough faith to follow the love to that greater place where the light is. Knowing that the Passover is the bridge from where I am, and where I am is where I am. And it's not wrong, it's where I am. And it is leading me to something greater. And the Native Americans, the medicine women, the medicine men, the shaman, when somebody was sick, they would ask them, "When was the last time you sang?" Ask them, "When was the last time you danced? When was the last time you told your story?" You have the direct access point to the infinite, just the same as a guy by the name of Jesus had, or a Moses, or Dalai Lama. You have the direct access point to the infinite, but you can't drag the stuff through the door or through the gate that you've been dragging through this life. You got to leave it behind. Spirit is calling you. We're told, Jesus said, "Don't you realize," 10th chapter of John said, "Don't you realize that you're God's?" I mean, this is Jesus saying this to you. Don't you realize you're God's? In 1 Corinthians, it says, even your body is the temple of God. And don't you think Spirit can raise that up from whatever situation you find yourself in? And so, I want you to get that you are a child, a beloved child of the Most High, in which Spirit is pleased. You are the beloved daughter of God. It's pleased. You are the son, the beloved child of God, who is well pleased in who you are. It's not something you have to become. That Ted Senek, he didn't get God in his theological school. Ted Sean embodied God in dance. That is the difference. We can't just get it by thinking about it. Sometimes we've got to get knocked to our knees like Paul. Sometimes we've got to be stretched to our limits to realize, you know what, there's something beyond this, and it's a lot easier than what I'm putting myself through now, because I'm trying to pull the past with me, and I'm afraid of the future. And what Jesus said with practical spirituality, now you're with me in paradise. Now is the kingdom of heaven. Now is the Garden of Eden. So stop bringing your crud and trying to make it work, and allow yourself to be available for the divine download of greater good, and you will experience the happiness and the joy, the same kind that allowed that man Jesus to smile and rise triumphant from the darkest of situations, and have his story be so bold that it crosses cultures for millennia, and we're still talking about it this day. This is the consciousness that we get to reveal in our life. So happy Easter to us all as we become that living embodiment of that risen Christ in our life. I love you. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring the Seaside Choir back to our stage, along with Rebecca Jade in the Seaside Expanded Easter Band.
New life again.
That's beautiful, guys. That is your Seaside Choir. Oh, beautiful song, Silver Rain. Next year you can do Purple Rain. How's that? That's it. All right. Hey, Seaside Choir under the direction of Keith Leone. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Hey, this is the time of our service where we have the opportunity to unite together in the givingness and the sharing of our love and our offering. So I invite you to look within your heart and allow your heart to speak. Allow that love to speak and to have the faith to follow what your heart guides you to that upper place where the greater flow of life is able to bless your world. And as you give, it comes back. But it's not why you give. That is how it works. Rather, you give because it's an extension of your consciousness. You're supporting Spirit's work, and what you come to discover, Spirit supports its work is your very life. You put Spirit first, and Spirit shows up first in your life. And so at this time, I invite you to listen to your heart and say, yes, I am supporting Spirit's work, and my world is Seaside. And what you'll find is such blessings coming back. And with that, I'd like to invite our ushers to come forward. Want to say thank you to those who mail in your contributions when you can't be here on a Sunday. It's greatly appreciated, as well as those who practice the auto tithe, that regular support from your world into Seaside's. That regularity is a big blessing to us, but I want to assure you that regular, consistent support of God first brings rich blessings into your life. And so, thank you guys at home. We've got a wonderful, expanding virtual audience. We hear from you throughout the week. The prayer requests, your financial contributions, they're blessing us. They continue to bless us. And I heard stories today of individuals that are home watching. And so we know you're there. Right here, right now, we're in paradise. Right now is heaven. The blessings of God pours forth through each and every one of us. We become that wonderful avenue and conduit through which that greater good expands into life. It carries us beyond the appearances of where we were into the greater expression of life itself. There's a fullness, there's a joy, there's an ease, there's a grace, there's a deep sense of peace and security coming with knowing that God is our source. It's not a person, it's not an employer, it's not an economy, but rather it is the passion, it is the soul, it is the life for which we are in this world that is sourced by that which is infinite. We are that avenue through which the good comes, and I say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for using me to bless my world and allowing me the opportunity to share those blessings rippling out into the world. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this opportunity to be part of this affirmative, abundant expression of life, and so it is. Together, let us say this affirmation of abundance, which is, Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully, I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. guys from Seaside. Woo! Hey, Bob, can we have these guys every week? This is fabulous. What do you think? I stand before this outpouring of love, this bucket of abundance, this wonderful expression of God that has moved through each and every one of us, blessing our individual lives, for we have not held on but allowed ourselves to be an avenue through which that refreshing, renewing, revitalizing, expanding flow of life continues to uplift and bless and grace in all those perfect kind of ways. So knowing our life has been blessed and we have been graced with the ability to share, we send this forth from that full heart, from that overflow, knowing that it continues to bless and bring the joy and love to everybody it comes in contact. And so I know right now that as it's passed through Seaside, we handle it in good stewardship and we continue it in its motion, allowing it to bring that intention of love to everyone it touches. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for this opportunity to move from the theoretical to the practicing expression of the wonderful expanding flow of God's good. And so it is. Amen. Woo! All right. Hey guys, this is Mark Sands. He is your board treasurer. He's taken good financial care of our community. And just bless you for the expertise you bring. Also, your legal mind you bring to everything around here. You are a gift to us all. Yes, yes, yes. Mark Sands, your board treasurer. Woo! Speaking of woo, Karl Anthony, are you in the house somewhere? Karl, thank you. 25 years of doing Easter together. It is a gift to us all. Keith, thank you for stepping in last minute to take this choir that Sasha worked so diligently with. Choir, thank you so much for your wonderful songs and the weeks and weeks and months of work you put in. That is a blessing. Rebecca, bless you for your early morning arrival along with the choir and all the music department. And your direction is just your gift. Thank you. Doctors, you too. Dr. Christina, thank you for your wonderful words of wisdom. And you're a blessing to us all. Dr. Kathy, bless you for your wonderful words of wisdom. You are a blessing to us all. Next big party, graduation, June 2nd. That's right. All the practitioners from around Southern California, the ministerial students, are going to be walking right down this center aisle in their caps and gowns. So it's a special day for sure. Sound today, you guys been working overtime. Thank you, Matthew, giving us sound. Marv, for your wonderful visual team. Guys and women on the cameras, thank you. And you at home, we know that you're there. So take a look at the program. Now, I'm not going to spend much time talking about it. I do want to point out the classes are showing up. And so you heard me talking about humor and joy. Reverend Brian is teaching a class starting Monday night on the humor and the joy and the laughter of God that is available. You heard about Keith Leone's that is going on. You got the chakra class with Rick Ireton going on. You got Linda's class on relationship. You got my class on Tuesday nights. But sign up on the way out at the table so we can have workbooks for you. So look at the program. There's a lot going on. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I know our children want to do the egg hunt, right? So the quicker I pray, the sooner you get out there. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pray, and I'll try to make it fast. And then we're all going to sing the grace song. And to give you a little closer access to the door, why don't you guys, when we sing the grace song, kind of walk up on the stage, move over there. And then when we are done, we'll do our affirmation, and we're going to start singing kind of a unique song called My Easter Bonnet. But as we start singing that one, get out that door. You can be the first to access out. How's that for a plan? Okay. Good for that. There's Dawn. My goodness. Bless her heart. She leads our youth and family program. So I want to invite any of our religious science practitioners to stand in this moment, so we all can feel this upliftment. Those who led the procession here this morning, who brought in that light, I know right now that this is a moment where I choose to recognize the love that fills this room, the music that fills this room, the joy that fills this room, the pain that is in this room. I know God is in the house. And I stand as a beholder and a witness to the magnificence of the unfolding grace of that light in this moment. That light that shows beyond the appearance of the human laws or frailties of the cardinal mind or the mortal mind for that infinite divine law that says, I am well pleased. Don't you realize that you're God? Your body is the temple. It is that essence that breathed us into form. It is that life that was in those dead-looking plants That was always there as the life that is within us, waiting for us to roll away those stones of fear and worry and anxiety, those things that we have sealed up, the access to the greater yet to be. I know right now the truth of our being is light and life and love and God. And I'm one with that. For God is infinite, is all things, it is omnipresent. That means all that I am is spirit. All that I am, all that you are, all that we are is forever God. And so we move into this new realization that Moses, that Jesus, that holiness, Dalai Lama realization become that vortex of that God expression, not needing to tell it what to do, but buying in and feeling those God qualities of the happiness and the joy and the greater good. And I begin to find access through that door, through that gate, to the upper room, to the upper chamber of the greater possibilities that is not bound by the limitations and the mirages and the illusions of this world. And I begin to find my body just naturally resonating to a new vibration, a new frequency. The cells of being are one of light and life and love. And they're just resonating with a sense of wholeness because I've chosen to know the qualities of God are always present. And with that, there is good, there is abundance, there is ease, there is joy, there is creativity, there is self-expression. The relationships are just magical. And what I know right now, that if there's anything that's constricted in anybody's life today, be willing to lift that into a higher place, lift it into the light and watch it dissolve into the illusion, the Maya from which it appeared. And I know right now what remains in the vision is to be able to see as God sees, that light and that truth that is beyond the appearances of this world, including death, including enslaved or trapped, brought to our knees because it is a divine calling card that says there is more. Let go of what you've been holding on to. For this is the best day yet. Right now is the day I'm in paradise. Right now is the day in which the floodgates are open. Right now I am in heaven. And so with this sense of gratitude for the good that is going on, for every prayer request in our prayer request chest that is answered, for this spiritual community that is growing and thriving, seeing in the program the 33 new individuals that says, count me into membership in this community, in this family. The names are there. I signed up. Seaside is growing. It is alive. It is thriving. It is prospering. It is expanding because the individuals of this community's lives continue to rise. The word is out around the Mediterranean. He's risen. You have risen. You are the beloved child for which I am well pleased. The good is there because who you are is an expression of the divine. You're the vortex of greater good. And this I am grateful to see, to call forth, and to witness. And so I let go because it's not mine to do or to create. It is already so. The mystical consciousness isn't trying to change anything, but it is beholding, it is witnessing the presence of God that is already here and now. And so I say thank you to this. I let it go and I surrender and allow that spirit to have its way in this moment. So it is. Amen.
Thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. If you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, gotta
on today. Hey, anyway, our affirmation for the week is, I see as Spirit sees. Together, I see as Spirit sees. Touch your heart and say it again. I see as Spirit sees. One more time, like it's your truth. I see as Spirit sees. One more time. You're doing it so well.
I see as Spirit sees.
And join us for our Easter bonnet song that nobody knows.